Well, it's time now to talk about a new movie, and if I told you that it was a black political romantic fantasy comedy, or even worse, a serial comic Orwellian look into the future, you'd probably say, no thanks, I'm going to stay at home and put my loft ladder in. And you'd probably be right, actually, because the film Brazil defies description. It's basically the story of somebody who goes along with the system until he falls in love, then the system works against him. Here, Jonathan Pryce is thrown into a romantic affair.
Actually, there's someone I want to meet.
Oh, I know. I know. Here we are. I'm going to leave you two lovebirds in peace.
Hello, Shirley.
Oh. Come on.
Do you want a drink?
Oh, hello.
Chase those years away.
Listen, Shirley. Look, your mother and my mother, they seem to have got the idea that... Look, I'm very flattered. And, well, I just don't want you to be under any false impressions.
It's all right. I don't like you either.
Jonathan Pryce there, seen here on the set with his co-star Kim Greist, and the gentleman wearing the duvet on the left is the director of this film, Terry Gilliam, who also worked on films like Jabberwocky, The Meaning of Life, and The Life of Brian. Time Bandits as well was, of course, your favourite there, Terry. I've said that the film defies description. I think the most concise description I've heard is that it's delightfully weird. How would you actually describe it?
I think it's basically about a man who has a loft and he's trying to get up into that loft, and so he built this ladder that swings down. It's his... Oh, no, sorry, that was the bit we did before. Sorry. Now, this is a really exotic film. This is probably the best film I've made in the last year.
How many films have you made in the past year?
Just this one.
Just this
one? Yeah. You spotted that right away, didn't you?
Michael Palin said it's a wonderful film, and Brazil will be the first film to have a country named after it.
Yes, I think we've succeeded already with that one. We were originally going to call the film Paraguay, but disastrous country. Yeah. No, that's what's extraordinary is we actually went out of our way to make a film that was undescribable. So I go around and do these interviews, and we sit there and look at each other and wonder what we're going to do, because I don't know how to describe it. Because it's a comedy, it's a tragedy, it's romantic, it's got some of the best truck chases you've ever seen in the world. People fly in the film. We've actually... Sam, the character that Jonathan Pryce plays, is a dreamer, basically. He works in this vast ministry. And he dreams of escape all the time, and he flies like Icarus. It's just fantastic. And he has battles with huge samurai warriors. The world is split apart. So it's trying to lure people in with all sorts of sugar. It's the Mary Poppins philosophy of filmmaking, you know, the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. Yes.
It also marks the British acting debut of Robert De Niro. How did you... in fact, I think when he first wanted the part, you said, no, you're not getting it, or something like that.
It's a terrible lie, which becomes Scotch immediately. Well, to be honest, this is absolutely right. He came around the door, he was knocking, he had some photographs of some of the work he'd done in the past. I actually hadn't heard of the man.
He seems to have found a cure for halitosis there,
Yeah, well, this is it. Well, once we got him, it was a matter of keeping a bag over his head through most of the film, because we didn't want to be obvious in anything we did in this film. So that... we got De Niro, put a bag over his head, and we try to pretend he's not in the film. And so you've revealed probably the most important secret of the film.
I'm terribly
This is a bit of a shock to me, and I think I'm going to leave.
Before you do, tell me a little bit about the shooting schedule, because it took 9 months, which seems to be an awful long time. Why was it so long in the making?
Well, babies take 9 months. Why can't films?
But babies go on for forever and ever and grow
That's
up.
what I'm hoping the film will do, exactly. No, it was, unfortunately, it's a very complicated special effects film. I mean, with all this flying and blowing up the world and generally doing things like that. And unfortunately, the special effects unit didn't work concurrent with the main film, and so we had to do them all afterwards. And our planning went right out the window, because it was all planned to be done in the studio during the winter months when it was cold and miserable. And because we ran so long, we ended up working in the middle of the hottest summer months that England's had in ages, doing these impossible effects which involved lots of lights and heat, and people were dropping like flies.
We have a couple of pictures of the special effects that appear in the movie, and this one appears at the top of a tower block. And in the film, it looks a lot bigger than it actually is there, doesn't it?
Well, that's not to give away a secret, but I will. We used a kid rather than Jonathan in the costumes to make the brick man, which bursts out of the ground, look twice as big as he really is. That's a trick we've used lots of times, where we've got a huge fight with a samurai warrior who's supposed to be about 12 foot high. And we've got a boy who we doubled Jonathan with. And what's quite extraordinary, there are shots when you actually see his face walking very close to camera, and you'd swear it's Jonathan, all 6'2" of him, but it's not. It's a teensy little person.
And the samurai warrior, I mean, was that an especially difficult special effect to do?
Well, it was like dressing a Christmas tree, I think you can see there. I mean, that's in fact me at the Christmas party there with the samurai Christmas tree. Again, the costume is made out of transistors and all sorts of bits of clever Japanese electronics. And it cost 10,000 pounds to make, I know, and it weighs a ton. And we had this huge man inside of a 6'7" ex-boxer, and he could literally stand up only a couple of minutes before he had to, be propped up with all sorts of RSJs and things to keep him going.
I'm just thinking, actually, a lot of people will be watching at the moment saying, I know that guy from somewhere. And let's give a little clue by looking at one of the other actors who appears in the film. And that's Michael Palin, who seems to do no wrong at the moment. Why did you decide to work with Michael?
Well, he lives a couple blocks away, and it saves a lot on the petrol bills, basically. I mean, a lot of directors use him for that reason. He lives close to a lot of directors. Clever him. Now, Mike is just, a dear friend after all those years in Python.
He does seem to be doing more and more acting now.
Yeah, I think because Python isn't doing much at the moment, and Mike more and more is trying to establish himself as a leading man. He's failing miserably. But that's just between you and me.
I'd like to show you a photograph that I know you haven't seen in a long, long time. And in it, you look a little bit like a hippie, I must say. There it is there. The cast of Monty Python.
That's me in the middle, isn't it? With
No,
the check?
it's not. No, you're not getting away with that.
No.
The one on the left. You look as if you're a renegade from a pop group there. How long ago was that taken?
I don't know. I didn't realize the Queen was part of our group either. I think that was the first series of Python, which would have been 69. I mean, that's a long time ago. The strange thing is that it hasn't been shown on television for so long in England, and yet in the States it's shown every week. It's shown nightly in some cities. So we're alive and well there. We're ancient history in Britain.
So just as we come towards the end of our chat, tell me about the future then. You've done Brazil, which I know is something that you've had in your mind for a long time. What's the next project then?
Well, I'm working on the tales of Baron Munchausen, who was an 18th century adventurer. He was actually a fantastic liar, was what he was basically, and he told fantastic tales of going to the moon. There's one incident where he's in a battle, and to reconnoiter the enemy positions, he gets on top of a cannon, fires a cannonball, jumps on the cannonball, and rides it towards the enemy positions.
Wonderful.
Halfway there, as he's just spotting their gun positions, he realizes there's no way back. He's going to end up in their positions, and luckily...
Terry, you need to be brief. Come on, quick.
An enemy cannonball is fired at him. He sees it coming towards him. He jumps on it, and he gets back to his position, and that is the end of the film there, which was conceived on my way to Britain.
Oh, wonderful. On your way to Birmingham, you meant? You're in Britain.
Jesus! Oh, what an ending! Oh, no!
Now you know why the film defies description. Oh, does too. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry
embarrassing!
Gilliam.
Oh.